All right. Elephant in the room, right? Weird combination of movies. Absolutely. I don't deny that. But, hopefully it's interesting. Hopefully it grabbed your attention. And along with the title of this video, hopefully it has you wanting to hear what I've got to say about these two movies. If not, see you later, I guess. But with Halloween just around the corner, I figured I'd make a video to inaugurate the season. And two movies I've watched recently that I think made me want to talk about something specific are the Pixar film Brave and Francis Ford Coppola's adaptation of Dracula. As an aside, before I go any further, why did he title the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula? Like, that's literally the title. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Am I supposed to say Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula? Because that sounds stupid. Regardless of the asinine titling of one of the movies I'm talking about, each film features a monster which is not entirely monstrous. They are central antagonistic forces. The parts of the story which are meant to make us fear the shadows and the eerie quiet of the night are on some level human. For Dracula, this is obviously our title character as well as the other handful of vampires that we see throughout the film. For Brave, this is primarily mor'du, but it is also Merida's mother in her bear form at a few points throughout the film. And interestingly enough, I found the bear in Brave mor'du to be a more effective and frightening monster than Dracula was in Coppola's adaptation. Now, before you call me a stupid idiot moron dumbass in the comments section for saying this, hear me out. The reason this is the case is because one movie, Brave, treats the beastly nature of our monsters as scary, inevitable, and a powerful force that almost cannot be defeated. But when you look at Dracula, it's almost the opposite. Dracula is a monstrous, murderous, dangerous man. But fundamentally, the film treats him just as that. A man. A man who, above all things, became the monster he was because of a lost love. And almost every moment of his time on screen in Coppola's movie is dictated by his lack of love. That love which was reignited through what appears to be genuine reincarnation. At any point in time, Dracula can show restraint. He can subdue his monstrous nature if he chooses, and he quite often does make that choice. Mostly it's with Mina, but there are other moments too. He keeps his hunger at bay around Jonathan even when he sees blood. He saves Jonathan from the concubine in the castle, and even at the very end of the film, he doesn't unleash his most powerful self against the forces who have pursued him to Transylvania. Dramatically speaking, the most powerful choice that Dracula makes in the film is his temporary refusal to turn Mina into a vampire. He simply cannot bear the thought of her knowing the same torment he has for all these years since she died the first time. He chooses sacrifice and pain for himself if it means something better for his true love. His most important choice is one where he chooses his humanity. Compare this now to Brave. In Brave, the concept of the monster itself is actually split into multiple pieces. There's mor'du, the complete and undeniable beast. Then there's Eleanor in bear form, who is slowly succumbing to her monstrous fate as the movie goes on. If we compare Dracula to mor'du, the biggest differentiator is choice. Mor'du, a savage and bloodthirsty animal, is without choice entirely. There is never a decision to be made for mor'du. There is only the rage, only the hunt, which is on in full force in each and every moment he stalks the screen. There is no reasoning with this bear. There is no garnering its sympathy. There is no chance for escape or survival. Mor'du is an overwhelming, overpowering, single-minded force of nature. It is a dark presence that can bring nothing but stress, tension, and fear to every character, and hopefully mor'du manages to elicit the same reaction from the viewer. Yes, in the end, mor'du is freed from his curse and pain in the same way that Dracula is, and they are each given a final moment of release and reprieve. This mercy they are offered is, in both cases, something we as a viewer are meant to sympathize with. But the roads each monster took to reach this endpoint could not be more different throughout each film. Dracula goes through his film almost working his way toward his ending. He is humanized again and again. He is depicted as being capable of showing mercy. He's highlighted again and again as a man who was driven to evil because of an awful wrong that he experienced. He is a man who dares not subject someone he truly cares about to that very same evil. By the time he dies in the same chapel he was cursed in so many lifetimes ago, his end seems earned by him personally in at least a few ways. Mor'du, however, cannot be described the same way. Mor'du is, in a way, the sort of monster Dracula would be if there was never a chance for him to choose otherwise. If the human element of the vampire was ripped away entirely, Mor'du is what would remain for Dracula. Just pure, relentless, monstrous hunger. Of course, this isn't Mor'du's fault in Brave. He was, at one point, the victim of a broken spell from a witch. One that gave him what he wanted, but in a twisted sense, with the only means that the witch was able to conjure. His release at the end, while still one we sympathize with and are happy for, is not one that he himself was capable of earning. In the end, it was the choice of another that freed Mor'du from his beastly burden. It was, in fact, the choice of Brave's other monster, Merida's mom, Eleanor. The dramatic climax of Brave is almost inverted to Dracula's. Contrasted to Dracula choosing his human love to save someone he cares for, Eleanor is forced to embrace her new monstrous nature in order to protect those she cares for. What was once a source of shame for her, a ticking time bomb, and a source of fear for those around Eleanor when she lost control, is now the one thing she needs more than anything else to rely on in order to save her family. It's a fun, more action-oriented sort of ending for the monstrous character of a film, and one that I think rounds out the potential climaxes these sorts of monster characters can have. And in totality, it's impossible to say if one concept of monster is superior to another. There's really no right or wrong way to depict the clashing of humanity and monstrosity within a singular character in a story. What matters is that this clashing is used to serve the story being told and the characters that it affects. Dracula, needing to embrace his humanity, worked with the central ideas of Coppola's adaptation and played really well against the version of the story that was more focused on the ideas of love and relationships rather than the concepts of horror and scares. Mor'du, being a relentless force of darkness and destruction, worked for the type of monster he was meant to be in his story. He was not only a physical threat, but he represented the existential doom of what Eleanor may be if all became lost. And finally, Eleanor herself was the sort of monster who was always brimming with humanity and needed to embrace the more beastly part of herself to have a hope of defeating the true evil in her story. Suffice to say, they all work really, really well if done effectively. And if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's that not all of your monsters need to be scary. But hey, around this time of year, maybe it's more fun if they are. Until next time.